It's so precious and it's so delicate.
Love. Without love, you don't have either of the other two.
The leadership stance that you take in your life, though, I think is directly correlated to the amount of love you have in your life. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the L3 Perspective, Life, Love, and Leadership. I'm your boy, Coach Cam, and I'm with my guy, G.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We're switching it up today. I'm doing the intro. Bada bing, bada boom.
Boom, boom.
But before we get started, per the usual, like, love, share, comment, message us. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. At the end of the day, we do this for you guys. So letting us know, giving us feedback helps us make sure we're providing as much value as possible to you all. But let's get it started. G came with the topic today. So
yes.
I'm gonna let him wrap it up.
What's going on, guys? Hey, so something has been on my mind. I woke up and it was just like family.
No.
Family. And I know between the two of us, we got like a
Hella kids.
whole football squad.
Hella kids.
And so, obviously life, love, leadership. I want to stick to those three topics
Okay.
regarding family.
Okay.
But before we dive into it, the first question I want to ask you, by the way, I love your kids too.
Man, they're all right.
Yeah. But one of the questions I want to ask is, what values, or what are some of the things that you're teaching your kids? Like, is there anything in particular in this particular season of your life?
Mm-hmm. I would say one of the biggest things that I'm teaching, and I feel like it's a lot of kids these days, is because of like phones and things like that. And I know all kids in general, they have a hard time like paying attention to what they're doing because they're just like moving 1,000 miles a minute.
Right.
But it's not just like paying attention to what you're doing, but it's also like being considerate of others and others, when you're doing certain things, like, because, kids can get very singular minded.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, people don't like when you do that, or people aren't going to like that you do that, or, you didn't like when people do that to you,
Right.
and now you're doing it to somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
so just, I would say trying to get them to take like those extra 2 seconds to think about second and third order effects of their actions.
Yeah.
If you can teach that to a kid, like, I feel as though you can curve, any major consequences in the future if you can get them to think about first and second order effects alone.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's deep for
You weren't ready.
Nah, I love it, man. I love it.
What about you?
Patience.
Okay.
Patience is definitely something right now that we're is one of the lessons. So there's actually a lot, because I feel like all 4 of my kids,
Yeah.
like we're teaching them different things at the level that it's almost like, leading people where they're at.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but patience is one of it. But I think that just in the mix of that is kind of having peace as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I believe that regardless of what age you are at, when you are able to practice patience,
Yeah.
and understand the value of peace,
Yeah.
it'd be key in this chaotic world.
Yeah.
Especially with the peace part of it.
Yeah.
So.
I try and teach that to like my oldest, Ivy, she, until probably somewhat recently, was like not that great being by herself. And I think that, and obviously there's like divorce between that thing, she's
Right.
the older sibling, things like that. So there's kind of, factors that I'm sure play into that. But like, I remember I've told her many times, like, sometimes it's okay to just be alone. And that was a lesson I don't think I really learned until later in my life, because being an only child,
Right.
I was by myself so much that I got older, and then honestly bad things happened because I didn't want to be alone.
Right.
And so I that's like something I try and teach the kids as well, is like, hey, it's okay to like want a second to yourself, or to be by yourself and like enjoy an activity, because trust me, you will cherish that a lot more when you get older. So if you can learn how to do it now, you don't have to learn kind of that major lesson later.
No, it's important. It's an important lesson. Like one of the things I was kind of having a conversation with Omari about the other night was about about meditation.
Yeah.
Like he's on this journey of wanting to take his mindset to the next level.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it's the difference between just spending time with yourself and being distracted,
For sure.
with
Oh, yeah.
your phones
Busy
or just
minds.
just busy minds, and actually remaining still
Yeah.
to actually learn how to meditate and actually incorporate that into your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And because it's, again, I keep talking about how things are key. That's
Yeah.
another one of those major keys where it can help you, right? Like
For
if you're being intentional about elevating your mindset, like you not adding meditation to that, I think it could be a disservice to yourself.
Yeah. I haven't been meditating as much lately as I want to.
So have you felt the difference in your day when you have meditated versus like not meditation or
For
not
sure.
meditating?
I mean, in general, like I haven't been exercising as much as I want, meditating as much as I want, and I can like tell the difference, like body and mind.
Yeah.
Like,
So you done got this mountain house and you're
yeah,
just acting different. No,
I'm
I'm just kidding.
just acting different out there. So
No.
funny enough, like I think that's that's one of the reasons I enjoy being up there so
Yeah.
much,
Mhm.
because when I'm up there, I'm moving around the whole day,
Yeah.
so I'm exercising,
Mhm.
but then at the same time, I'm spending so much time kind of like in my mind as I'm
Yeah.
walking around, as I'm landscaping, as I'm
Right.
hanging things up. It's almost like this like moving meditation,
Mm-hmm.
because with the way that like my mind works is it's very busy all the
Yeah.
time, and so even meditation is hard no matter how intentional I am with it.
Mhm.
And so if I have something that is kind of like, it's like pink noise.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is working
Yeah.
out there. Like when I'm cutting grass and doing that, it's like pink noise,
Yeah.
because while I'm doing it, I'm like focusing on other things, because that busy side of my mind is distracted with other things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, I'm also working out at the same time. So it's
Right.
like, it's a 2-for-1er. So when
Yeah.
I leave, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to go back to the daily grind,
Mm-hmm.
Kids, youth centers and jobs and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. And it's hard. I think it's real easy for everybody to be like, yeah, stay disciplined, do all this. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't have 5 kids in your house.
Five active.
And 5 active
Yes.
children
Yeah.
in your house, both parents who work 2 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I got 3
Businesses,
businesses,
yeah.
like it's always easy, and that's one thing. If there's a lesson as far as leadership, when it
Mhm.
comes to kind of your life and your family, is like, be cognizant of who's giving you advice about things.
Right.
It's really easy, like me and you talk about things. We're in a pretty much same situation, so it's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, you got a single person, no kids, lives by themselves, trying to give me advice on how to do things. Unfortunately, no matter how good the advice is, it's going to come at somewhat of a grain of salt in certain instances. Like if you're trying to talk to me about time management, I'm probably not going to take you all that seriously.
Yeah.
If you know a system or something, of course, like that's different. That's like technical knowledge. But like, if you're not in the same situation as me, and I'll say, I know people are like, oh, that's a bad way to think. No, it's not. Let's keep it real.
Right.
A millionaire can't tell a poor person to, what is it like? MLK, you say that what? It's not fair to tell a man to pull himself up by his bootstraps, but he has no bootstraps.
Yep. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that, man.
You're
getting kind of deep today. Anyways, so this is one of
Next
the reasons why I wanted to talk about family, because I know how much you value family, and obviously, I share that same value, and so one of the things I was thinking of is like, man, like, what is something that, or what are some things that I want my kids to, take away, like as they enter their adult years, right?
Yeah.
And so I know for me, one of those things is just being a man and a woman. Now that I got a baby girl,
you got a girl now,
of high character, but integrity, right? And so I want to ask you, that same question. Like, what is something, as your kids get older, what is something that you want them to remember as far as a value that you and your wife kind of instill in your household?
Responsibility. I think it's important that the kids take responsibility for like what they're doing, and like, and that it's okay that not everything's gonna go 100%. I tell kids all the time, it's like, I mess up all the time.
Right.
Things that
every day.
Every day I mess up. Every day I mess up. my whole life, there's plenty of mistakes or lessons that I've had to learn, but what I have never done though is shove off responsibility for my part in whatever has happened.
Yeah.
But that's the other side of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just don't take responsibility to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I think the older kids can have problems with a lot of times. Like, once again, my oldest she's always constantly saying sorry for things that are not her responsibility, and I have to remind her that, like, oh, sorry, Dad, I didn't feed the kids or something. I'm like, dude,
Right.
you're not an adult. Like,
Yeah.
you're a child. Like, although I appreciate you helping, and it's nice when you do those things, they're not expected of you.
Yeah.
So you don't need to say take your sorry back.
Right. Yeah.
take it back, because that's kind of something that's like, there's a middle ground to, like, they talk about parentification of your children, and there's such a thin line between teaching them how to be responsible, but then also but them in taking so much of it that they now feel responsible. And that's one of those lines you have to, like, instill. Like, when me and my ex split up, that was a big thing that I talked with the counselors about, was like, they were like, you need to remind her that she's a child.
Right.
And I was like, that makes sense. So I make a point of that. Like, when she says sorry, I'm like, you're a child, I'm an adult.
Right.
It's okay.
It's a whole different
I know
level.
you're 10,
Yeah.
and you know a lot, because I'll like, Annette was saying that they did like a study, and it said the average like elementary school kid or something of that nature knows knowledge that we learned in our 30s because of access to information.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So you got 10-year-olds who maybe don't even necessarily understand, but have now heard about concepts that we did not learn about or see until we were, in our 30s.
Yeah. No, that's that makes sense.
Yeah. So, like, for you, with your son your oldest son being so old, and then your other kid, not so old, he's not 40, but with what is it? It's what is 9-year gap?
Yeah.
So having a 9-year gap between your next oldest child, but then having a 18-year gap between your youngest child.
Yeah.
Like, what is that learning process like? Like, do you and he's a great kid too, so it's like, almost like, is there anything that you feel that you have modified based off, what you did with your son?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like some of the teachings now for the younger ones are enhanced to a degree. Like, so for example, thankfully, for the most part, Amari's a good kid. You know what I'm saying? Amari's a great kid.
I'm about to say he's a good kid.
They're looking back of how, I was a father to him.
Yeah.
Me always striving to want to do better.
Yeah.
I look at, like, I could have done this a little bit differently, but I mean, overall, the 19-year-old package is a good package. So, I think
it's also like, it was also like parts were out of your control too.
Correct.
Yeah.
And part of that, some of the I think the fundamental values of being a good person are kind of standard across the board. Definitely. But I think that the younger ones now kind of get a little bit more of the life talks. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because like in some of the teachings, so for example, Mari and I are doing this thing where one of the things that we do in his preparation of taking his mindset to the next level is every morning I write something on his mirror.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so in doing that, when he was 10 years old, I didn't do things like that. Right. Like we talked about, we talked about positive things, life, et cetera, being optimistic. Now, what I've incorporated is like, while that is for him, I had a conversation with Darren and Isaiah, who are 10 and 6. Yeah. And I was like, every day I want you to make sure that you're reading what's on the mirror.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's almost like they get the cheat code a little bit ahead. So those are just kind of some of the things that I do, and Darren and Isaiah love that because now they feel like they're part of the process.
For sure.
Because we talked as a family like why we're actually doing that. Yeah. And so I feel like because of Mari leading the way in that sense, the younger ones will elevate a lot faster. For sure. It's almost like the kids have access to the technology, like you were
Yeah.
mentioning, versus when we were younger. I think it speeds up that process.
Yeah.
But I want them to understand the intent behind those type of things.
Yeah.
So,
So what'd you write today?
uh,
See, I put him on the spot.
yeah, you did. Oh man, I will tell you.
What do you remember that you wrote?
I can't tell you because Darren and I have a 90-day plan, which aligns up with what's going on in the mirror.
Okay.
So just to kind of
Can you
give
tell
you
me
guys a sneak
yesterday's?
peek. Nope, because it's not time yet.
But you're making a video every day.
So you will see it on day 23.
Okay.
So when we do the day 23 video, you will know what we said today. And what's today's date? The 8th of June?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is bullshit.
But I will tell you, it was about mindset. It was about championship. It was about having a championship mindset. It was in alignment with that theme.
Okay, a little nugget.
Yeah.
So, for those of you watching, write a quote in the comments to tell us what you think G said, and then if you win,
yeah,
we'll talk about what you win if you guess the quote right.
100%.
Is it a quote like out of a book or something, or is it like something you came up with?
Oh, you know what? I will tell you this.
Oh, here we go.
It is from Lou Holtz. It's a quote from Lou Holtz.
Okay.
LOUHOLTZ. So if you like I said, you can Google that and drop it in the comment, and then
we're gonna get merch soon. So maybe you'll be like the first winner of like a T-shirt or a hat or something.
Yeah.
Or a sticker. So
never mind. I'm gonna give him the answer. I don't want to give him the answer.
No,
I like that. Yeah, y'all gotta wait now.
So that being said, it is crazy how the kids are watching.
Yeah,
and everybody talks about that, but like, I got the whiteboard, and so when my other business partner E was here and we were doing stuff, the kids watched me do that with him, and so when I went to the kids like field day to have lunch with picnic with them, whatever, I was talking to their school counselor about it. I was like, oh yeah, I do business consulting, stuff like that. She's like, oh, that's cool. And Ivy immediately was like, oh yeah, Dad's going to ask you what your travel expenses are, what your bills cost. He's like, he's going to add that all up and he's going to tell you what you need to make in order to make more money to pay all your bills, but also have other money. And he's going to ask you what your schedule is and da da da. And and I was just like, well, okay.
It's crazy how they
she even asked, said, can I watch you do more of those? I was like, of course. Yeah. Like, you can always watch me do those. Like, so now, and we talked, that was something we talked about as far as like doing kind of these education pieces with the kids. For sure.
It's funny you mention that because how Darren's Kid Talk got started is when I was stationed in Mississippi, I used to bring Darren to the schoolhouse every Friday.
Yeah.
And I would, go to each class and kind of just give them a positive message going into the weekend. And so obviously there was some type of either quote or positive thought into it.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Oh, Dad, I want to do that. I want to inspire the world." That was his exact words. I want to inspire the world. Okay. And that's how that got birthed. And so obviously we took a break, and now we're back. we're on day 7 or day 8. We'll be posting that video tonight. But it's just crazy how your kids are watching whether it's from a positive aspect or a negative aspect. Like they're going to subconsciously remember the environment in the home.
Yep.
And so with that, I think that now I'm more aware and very intentional about like, okay, what kind of environment do I want our home to be?
Yeah.
And I think that's key. What are your thoughts or what are you doing in your home to keep a maybe that positive environment, that healthy environment in your home?
So I know, like, with 5 kids in the house all running around, I have to remind the kids that the environment that we have in the house is one of, like, I don't want to say survival, but like the things that I'm doing are for a reason. Yeah. Because I do a lot of things. Yeah. And so,
but there's an end goal.
There's an end goal. But that's also part of that respect piece. Like, like I tell the kids is, hey, if, you guys are loud and I can't start doing something, that's just more time that it takes me to do said thing. Like my kids were very fortunate because when I was solely recruiting, I worked from home a lot. So the kids have seen me 10 times more than honestly probably the average parent in general.
Okay.
Let alone a military
Yeah.
parent, let alone a military recruiting parent.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started having to really kind of buckle down to do things, that was a alien concept to them. What do you mean you got to work?
Yeah.
I have to work.
Yeah.
To make money. Oh, what do you mean but it's 4:00?
Yeah.
Yeah. Most parents probably don't stop till like 6.
Yeah.
5:30. I stayed at my grandmother's house a lot growing up. My grandma had 2 jobs. Like employee jobs,
right?
Not like where we have. I run businesses. Like
right.
grandma had to be, was waiting tables after her day job.
Right.
And so I would say kind of building an environment of like we get things done, and sometimes there are sacrifices that have to be done for that. And it's okay. But at the same time, you also have to make time for the things that like matter.
Yeah.
So like that's what I tell them is like, hey, I might work late today, but it's because I want to spend more time with you guys on Friday.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. The priorities.
Yeah. And explaining that to them rather than just like, yo, leave me alone, I'm doing something.
Right.
Like I'm doing these things because on these days I want to be able to do stuff without having to do these things. Yeah. Yeah. So being transparent, transparent, and there's always like caveats to it because at the same time I'm transparent with them, but I also don't want you asking me questions every 5 minutes. Correct. Like I don't explain. Right. I don't need to explain myself to a child. So like it's like this kind of give and take because it's like, hey, if I tell you what I'm doing, that's cool, but like I don't need you to give me the 3rd degree if I say I can't do something right now. Yeah. 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 I know I'm not about gentle parenting. Like in a way, like I'm all about. There's a balance, like, and what I mean by that is like, if I ask you to do something more than once, or or we'll say more than twice. Right. If I've asked you now more than twice, I'm not saying please no more, and I don't need to be nice about it. Right. I'm not, but I always say please. I always say thank you. I give them the opportunity to take the road that is less abrasive for sure. And if you if you don't take that road, I have no problem putting you in your place for sure. and making it happen, right? And so I would say that's what I mean by like I don't do the gentle parenting thing, but like I am all about talking about emotions and how you feel, and if you don't like something, please tell us. It doesn't mean I'm not gonna like. It doesn't mean I'm going to cater to it. Like, if you tell me you don't like carrots, but that's the vegetable we got, well, bro, you're going to eat your carrots. Right. Yeah. Or you don't eat it. Or you're going to go to sleep early or not eat anything. Yeah. And so, and I will say that was a really hard thing to get used to after me and my ex split. That kind of control and not catering to the children so much. Because I think, although she is a great mother, she's a great mother to them. Sometimes there was probably a little bit too much catering to them, and my kids got used to it. Gotcha. So taking back kind of that control too, and honestly, like not having dad get about it. For sure. Mateo he's a whiner boy. He's making me the carrot. That's the fastest way to make him cry. But I'm like, yo, you're gonna sit there all night, bro. Yeah. And initially I felt really bad about it. I'm like, dang, like I'm making my son cry. He's gonna hate me. Yeah. I think that's really hard. I see why him and Isaiah like vibe with each other hard. It's super dramatic, right? Yeah. About and I think that's something a lot of parents have a hard time with because they're like, oh, I'm like damaging my child, and I'm like, if anything, I had to learn like actually I'm showing my child that like when I say something I stick to it. Yes. And he will remember. That. You know what? Like, oh yeah, my dad made me eat carrots, and man, but at the same time, everything else my dad has also said, he has also stuck to it. Yeah. One of the things I learned as a father is, it's okay to apologize. But there have been times where like, just kind of to your point, where I would say something and I would want to apologize. Yeah, you got. But I'm like, nope. Nah, this is one of those life lessons. Wrong. Right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Good. Yeah, I appreciate you answering that question. But yeah. So first of all, as we end, tell the kids about where they can watch the Talks with Darren. Tell the kids? Or sorry. So any kids watching and adults watching. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so right now they're on my IG page, which is at I am Glenn Davis with 2 N's.
And then, but they will be on Inspire Nation's YouTube page.
We're gonna hook it up.
Once I get with my tech guy. So
we're gonna get him right.
Yeah, it's funny because I had someone drop a comment. Oh, also on my Facebook page too, Glenn Davis. And so every night for the next 90 days, we'll be dropping a video. But it's funny because someone in the comment, it was like, hey, you should put this on YouTube. And I was in my head, I'm like,
it's Cam's fault.
My guys already, you know what I'm saying? I said they will be up there by the end of June.
Facts.
So realistically, they'll be up there in a week. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Maybe tomorrow. Once we link it, right?
Possibly. Yeah, what I like about you too, man, you're a man of execution.
Oh yeah.
And that's
it's just because I forget, so I got to get it done quick.
No, for sure. That's the same. The same. Like, hey, if I don't get it, if I don't execute now,
you're so on top of it. I was
for
like,
sure.
That's because I'll forget.
Yeah.
So I just it's the thing I learned about myself.
Yeah, and that's you have to. So kind of tying in as we gear up to wrap this up. So obviously, in the mix of our conversation, we on family we talk life, love, and obviously kind of leading by example. I appreciate this talk because this is obviously a platform where we are transparent.
Yeah.
We are vulnerable, but just being able to, this is a topic that I know that we love.
Oh yeah.
This is a topic that obviously affects life.
Facts.
And us being very intentional with how we lead people.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to bring this conversation today.
Facts. I like it. Well, as we wrap up, you guys, like, love, share, comment, let us know. Share the videos, share the profiles, do whatever you like, tag us in things or guests that you think that we should have on the show. But at the end of the day, we do appreciate you all being here, having these conversations with us. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
With life, it's so precious and it's so delicate.
Love. Without love, you don't have either of the other two.
The leadership stance that you take in your life, though, I think is directly correlated to the amount of love you have in your life.